Okay, here we are, Yorick, at our third Sig Energy battery install that our team are doing. Our Sparkies are down there just wrapping up now. And you sold this one. Why the heck are we selling Sig Energy?
We got back from Shanghai. We were very excited about the product, and we thought we'd try and get sell a few and see how it goes and see what bites we got. We did change our mind as to whether or not we were going to continue to sell them not long after this product was sold. So look, like with all our customers, we want to do the right thing by them. So we called up and basically explained why we would not continue to sell Sig Energy. Jeffrey, whose property we're filming at today, which thank you to him for letting us film on site, still wanted to proceed and understood that, our hesitations. And so we're here now finishing off his installation with his battery just before the rebate.
Yeah, Yorick, a lot of people have called us disingenuous about this, that we went over to the factory and I didn't like it in the first place, but we were actually genuinely sold when we went there.
Genuinely. And we had our initial concerns, but we were very impressed.
There's a lot of talk online about this product, a lot of YouTube reviews saying how good it is and all the good things it does. One, obviously, is that you've got 32 kilowatt hours and an inverter in such a ridiculously small stack.
It is an incredibly energy-dense battery. It is amazing, and it's a good-looking battery too. I mean, the plastic coverings helps a lot with that, I think.
But it helps, but that also gets into our points. So I've got 4 points that I want to cover.
Sure.
And just help you through our thought process. So even though this is number one battery in Australia at the moment, the thought process that I went through and with you and our team at MC Electrical to get to the point of going, nah, it's just too much of a risk. First one, Yorick, talking about plastic covers.
Yeah, here you go, Mark. Yeah. I think this was one that you were most concerned about.
This is the one, as soon as we rocked up in Shanghai at the office, these batteries were out in the middle of a car park, and this just screamed out to anyone that had any common sense there, I think, is that this plastic cover goes on the front here. You can literally reach a hand straight in there. A child could stick their head in and bite these cables if it was out from a wall, which is how they installed it in Shanghai, how they recommend we can install it.
Yep.
It doesn't have to have a backing on it. Plastic covers for a start, just spray painted, doesn't jump out quality to me.
Yeah, and they're not the most rigid plastic either, and they're very gappy as well, especially with letting light in.
How would you compare this? Yorick, we do Tesla Powerwall 3 and BYD batteries. How would you compare this plastic cover, clip-on cover to?
There's no plastic on a Tesla. It's all cast aluminium or glass. BYD is a full metal housing as well. I think the only plastic part might be just the isolator cover.
Enclosure.
Yeah, circuit breaker enclosure. That was one of the first things that stood out to us is actually, even though it looks like metal, and I wish it was metal, it does kind of feel like a bit of a cheap plastic.
We'll talk about the warranty later because that's the second point. But these cables too, I asked if these are UV resistant because that little multi-pin connector doesn't look like it's UV resistant to me. They told me that email me that information proving it was.
Yeah.
I don't believe it is because they never sent me the email. Even if it is, that's just not possum proof. A possum can get in the back there.
Or a rat or...
Yeah, even if it is up against the wall. To me, that is just a little bit of a lack of regard for quality, I think. And if that's how they're treating the outside, the stuff that we can see, what is their attention to detail inside? We saw that assembled. We're not experts on how to assemble batteries, right? So
that's true. And look, I think it's fair to mention that, look, these are cast aluminium housing that everything's, compressed into, but really it's just going to be a matter of time before we start seeing, what the long-term reliability is. And I think that's, I guess our hesitation is, it is such a new company. They've only been selling in Australia for 12 months, if that. They've been CSC approved for less than that. So it'll take at least a couple of years before we sort of get a true understanding about their long-term reliability.
Yeah. Now, from the customer's point of view then, let's just talk about warranty. So generally it's a 10-year warranty?
10-year warranty on the inverter and the batteries. That's 5 years on the gateway, but we'll go into that in more details in a sec.
What about this stuff here? Is 10-year warranty on that?
No, it's only a 2-year, unfortunately.
2-year. That makes sense. Because I wouldn't expect it to last much more than 2 years to be your decorative lights, but also, whether this cracks off or something like that. I think that's just quite annoying for a product that should last 10 years.
Yeah. They did bump up the warranties at the gateway. Since we filmed our last video, at the time it was only a 2-year warranty.
Well, did they really bump it up or did they kind of...
Look, the metal enclosure has a 5-year warranty, and I think the brains, which is the gateway component of it, has got a 5-year warranty now. But there's lots of exclusions, essentially anything that's a moving part or a wearable component. So you better not put on that gateway as a jacket, Mark. The thing is that contactors, circuit breakers, auxiliary circuits, lights, anything that inside that metal housing has only got a 2-year warranty. And so...
Is that pretty standard? What about Tesla gateway?
Everything in the Teslas have 10-year warranty. Other brands that have got gateways, I think everything inside that would have at least the 5-year warranty as well. So that was one of the things that stood out to me pretty early on. Is like, well, why aren't they giving that at least a full 5-year warranty? Because that is a critical component.
Well, I'll tell you why I think they aren't. To be honest, I kind of think it's responsible of Sig Energy not to give a 5 or a 10-year warranty on products that they have not been able to accelerate test in such a short period of time. So they're kind of covering themselves. They're not trusting their own product for longer than 2 years.
And I think it's also fair to say then about the EV charger. I know we had a bit of a video on vehicle-to-grid charging that came out a lot long ago, but I know...
An EV charger, we can put a car charger in here as one of those blocks.
Correct. And I know some people put them near the top and some installers put them right at the bottom just so that they're more accessible. You know, if it's a bit more length on the cable. But yeah, if you'd had that charger right at the bottom of that stack, you have to then disassemble the whole inverter battery system if you need to replace that. And it's only got a 3-year warranty. So that, I think, is a concern for me. If I was a consumer buying this product, I'd at least want everything in the stack to have a 10-year warranty.
Yeah, 3-year warranty on EV chargers kind of is fairly normal. But I think when it's part of one whole unit, it kind of...
And it's not that dissimilar to what's in an inverter that's inside that charger.
And they're not cheap. No, EV chargers either, right?
So, no, thousands of dollars.
Yeah, depending on what size you get, somewhere between 5 and up to 10, I think. So, yeah, okay. What else are we talking about, Yorick? After sales?
After sales, yeah. So, look, while we obviously have to deal with the warranties, if something was to go wrong, we need to call somebody to handle the warranty case on us because it's the manufacturer that covers the warranty. With Fronius, and I think you're actually flying down to Fronius to meet their service department.
Yeah. We're doing a video with them, actually, on Friday. We'll release that soon. That's an interesting topic. But anyway.
Stay tuned.
But yeah, you go down there and their service department, like I've been in Sungrow's service department as well, just a huge floor of engineer nerds answering phones, and they're trained in-house and they're sitting next door to another person in the service department. They're really learning how to do service warranties.
And they're specializing in the brand as well. I think you could mention to me that you were once contacted by a company that does third-party service support.
Yeah, so Obnidian is a company that is doing the after-sales support. They contacted me and a lot of other people like me that run businesses offering to take over our service. So I don't even know what they were charging, but let's say they go, for every job you've got, give us $100 and we'll look after that product for the next 10 years or whatever it is, right? And I thought, that's a ridiculous idea. What sort of service are my customers going to get if we just outsource this to some other company called Obnidian, Sig Energy? Apparently, it was a great idea. And they're like, well, great, we don't have to set up a service department. We'll just outsource it and we'll pay these guys to do after-sales service.
I mean, as we said, Sig Energy is now the biggest battery inverter seller in Australia now.
They overtook Tesla, they overtook BYD, they overtook Sungrow.
Within 12 months.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah. It is crazy. All their focus is on sell, grow. And
they're doing a good job of that.
They're doing a really good job of that, but it'll be interesting to see in a year or two, if we start seeing some warranty issues, how they're going to handle that.
And again, this is my point of view, right? That's not how I'd grow a service department. I might be totally surprised and they pull this off and they're the best service department, ever seen, but it's not the flags for me. So as an installation company, I want to be here for the whole 10 years that this thing is covered for under warranty.
And honour those warranties too.
And honour those warranties. So it's fine. We've done 3 jobs. We can handle those warranties if they disappear. Speaking of that, if they're going to stay around or not, where are they getting the funding from, Europe?
I think it was all private investors initially.
Yeah, so I think they had $100,000 of seed investment, and that might have been doubled or something like that.
I hope it was 100 million.
100 million. So I would have invested there. $100 million to invest in it. Now they're looking to float on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, but we're not there yet.
Being a startup, there is always a chance that they run out of money prematurely. They're in a growth phase. It's a risky period for them as a manufacturer. And especially, look, it's great that they're outselling. I mean, they're obviously moving product. Hopefully they're making profit, but there's not a lot of information available on that at this stage. And it is very possible that if they run out of money and aren't able to raise more capital before they're a publicly listed company, it is a risky period for them.
And if they are, and I mean, this is just what people have told me in a quick Google, there's some potential truth around the fact that they didn't get listed in Shanghai. Let me know in the comments below if that's just an urban legend, because, don't take my word for that. But they didn't get listed in the Shanghai Stock Exchange. Probably, from what I understand, is waiting till around about the new year, because they still very well could get listed. Yep. Sometimes it takes 12 months or something like that to get listed. If they don't get listed, that's when I'd be nervous.
Yeah, no, definitely. As I said, I think if you went all in on Sig Energy, which we know some of our competitors have, I think that's a big risk that they've taken. And it may pay off for them very well, or it may not.
It may not, yeah.